I'm Kylie Romashko. I am the host of the Money Mindset Monday podcast on Spotify, and I am here to help you create your positive money mindset and solidify your plans to rock your financial wellness journey or your debt-free journey. This episode is going to be a recap of episode 2, which is about kicking off your debt-free journey and the 4 steps you need to take to do that. So if you want to listen to the deep dive, you can click below and listen to the podcast. Otherwise, this is going to be a quick recap for you. Everything that I'm going to be going over with you today is stuff that Zach and I have actually used on our debt-free journey. So we were $80,000 in debt. We are debt-free now. And there are 4 steps that we took. And these steps are really easy. And I even made you a super easy to use workbook. It's nothing fancy. It's free. It's just on Word. So it's nothing, elaborate, but it's really simple, easy to follow. And if you click the links below, you can just find it in the Facebook group, Rocking That Debt-Free Journey. And it will be in the Files tab. Before we really dive in, I just want to really express how important this step is and what a huge pat on the back it's going to be when you finish this. And I really think it's important because this little exercise right here is going to help you set expectations for what your journey is going to look like, because everyone's is different. This is going to be the roadmap, and it's just going to really spell out for you what is next in your journey. So take at least an hour to sit down with just yourself or you and your partner and be totally distraction free and get this done. Okay, we are gonna go ahead and dive into the 4 steps. I'm just gonna tell you the 4 steps really fast, and then we're gonna do a little bit of a deeper dive. I'll give you some tips on some things that might be helpful, but regardless, like I said, this is gonna be a recap. It'll be shorter than the actual podcast episode, so if you feel like you need a little bit more, you can listen to the podcast, but this should be enough to kind of get you started. Step number 1, define your fixed expenses. Those are expenses that are always the same every month that you're always gonna have to pay, whether it's rent, whether it is your internet or anything like that. Number 2 is define your variable expenses. This is a little harder because variable means that it is always changing. So think of food out. That's different every single month. There's no way that that's exactly the same, but you can probably kind of figure out a little bit of a range or about where these different categories are each month. Number 3, this is going to seem so obvious, but this is also the easiest one. Define your income. And I know I have a lot of entrepreneurs out there. So again, I know it's different every single month, but just get kind of a basic range of money that you can for sure count on every month. And number 4 is going to be your very favorite because it's all about you, and that is defining your non-negotiables. Because although I think Dave Ramsey's a very smart man, I don't believe in making this suck. I think you can make this fun and stick with it because you're doing things that are sustainable and not just eating rice and beans and hating your life. We are going to make this fun. So fixed expenses. Fixed expenses, like I said, are things that don't really change. So I just want you to sit down and really write all this out. What is your rent every month or your mortgage? What's your car payment? What's your student loan? What is your internet? What's your Netflix? All those things that automatically come out every single month, I want you to figure those out. And our goal here, after you figure these out, is how can we decrease that number? When we're looking at decreasing our fixed expenses, we're probably going to be looking at things, again, if you have a lot of streaming services, can we narrow it down to just one and pause the other ones? And we're going to use some positive language about this. We're not giving anything up forever. We're not making our lives suck. You don't need to suffer. But is there something that you could stand to give up and just to bring those a little lower? Is there a different internet provider that you can use? Is there a different insurance company that you can use? Anything that you can do to lower those fixed expenses, even if it's by $100 overall around all those categories, makes a huge difference. When you do the deep dive for fixed expenses, at the very end, I just want you to put down what you are pausing and what you are switching. So maybe you are pausing your subscriptions. Maybe you have a lot of them and you're like, I'm going to just cancel some of these for now. And then maybe you're switching internet providers or insurance companies because it's going to save you. And then I want you to write what a difference that would make. Maybe it's $100, and that makes a really big difference over all of those categories. Second part is your variable expenses. And again, we're going to try to decrease these as well. I'm going to be honest, this is probably the part that you're going to hate the most because defining your variable expenses takes a long time. And again, it's kind of more of a range. And in different months, it's going to be really high, and different months, it's going to be lower. So some of these variable expenses are categories or things like food out, Target, gas, clothes, house items, and some of those things. So yours are going to be a little bit different than ours, but for the most part, we're probably going to have a lot of things the same. Also groceries. In doing this exercise and looking through your variable expenses, you're probably going to find a category that stands out quite a bit. And for us, it was Chipotle. We realized that we were spending a lot of money on Chipotle, like a ridiculous amount, because we live right by one. So we realized if we cut that and we only went a couple of times a month instead of like every other day, which is so embarrassing, but we realized that if we cut that down, we would be saving a lot of money. So for this part, you're probably not going to absolutely demolish any of these variable expenses because again, some of them are groceries and food out. You're just absolutely not going to cancel those altogether. And it's okay to go out to eat sometimes and enjoy life a little bit and just take a break and have someone else make dinner for you. But really what we're doing here is we're just figuring out what can you cut down on. You know, maybe you do buy a lot of groceries and you throw a lot of them away. Maybe you could be a little smarter, make a list ahead of time so that you're not overspending on groceries because we found that in ourselves as well. So a little side tip on that, we always go grocery shopping on Sundays and we always have a list before we go. So we look in the fridge, we look in the cupboards and we see what are we probably going to eat for that week. We make the list and then we go always on Sundays because it's always the perfect amount of food and we're always good to go and we spend way less money that way. The third step is going over your monthly income. So once we know that, our next question is how can we increase that number? And the reason we want to increase that is because a lot of the time when we're in a debt-free journey, we're trying to, redo our finances and be better. A lot of the time people think of what can I cut out? And that's a great thing. And that's kind of what we did in the first two steps. We thought about what can I cut down on? What can I pause? What can I switch? But a really great thing is when you add, how can I make more money? Because that gap of spending and how much you make is going to create more in the middle. And that big middle part of extra money can be thrown towards your debt. A couple of tips for adding a little bit more money into your life. So if you work corporate, I am really going to encourage you, if you feel like it makes sense, ask for a raise. And you're gonna know if it's the right time to ask for something like that, but be brave and ask your boss because that extra money can make a huge difference in your life. And maybe you've been working there for a long time and you kind of deserve it, so go ahead and ask. Think about what skills you have. Is there something that you're really good at that you could charge people for and charge a fair amount for you? Can you sew? Are you a good photographer? Can you walk people's dogs? I mean, that's not even really a skill. Anyone can do that. Can you, are you artistic? Can you make things? Are you a good designer? Do you know how to do email marketing? Do you know how to do design on like Adobe and stuff? There's a lot of skills that you probably have that maybe other people don't, and you just think that it's a universal skill, but it isn't. So you could definitely be charging someone for some kind of skill that you have and have a little bit of a side hustle that way. I remember when Zach and I were at the very beginning of our debt-free journey, and my mom and sister, they are very thrifty and they recommended surveys. So 2 survey companies that I would recommend that I've personally done. The first one is the one I've done, which is called D-Scout, and it is on your phone. It's just an app. It's really fun and easy. Sometimes they'll give you straight cash. Sometimes they give you Amazon gift cards, which you can buy a lot of household items that you were gonna buy anyways on Amazon. And the second one is Surveys on the Go, which one of my friends does, and she says really good things about it. Because I'm in network marketing, I'm obviously going to recommend that of any company as long as you are already using the products and you really like them, because 1, it's going to save you money being a distributor, and 2, if you have people in your network that start using these products, that's a little bit of extra cash coming your way too. A bonus is selling things around your house. If you have clothes, bring it to a consignment store because that is going to take you the least amount of time, and granted you won't get as much money if you sold it on Instagram or through Mercari or something, but I don't have to worry about shipping it or being in communication with anyone. I just bring it to the store and they give me a check when it sells. Look around your house. If there is something that you are not using or furniture that you hate or whatever, get rid of it and sell it, because it's really just junk around your house is just money sitting around. And if it's actual junk, throw it in the garbage because it's just clutter and it's stressing you out. But if it's something useful or nice, definitely put it on Facebook Marketplace and sell it. Number 4 is my favorite, and that is non-negotiables. And maybe this is something that you didn't think could possibly be part of your debt-free journey, but in my world, it is. And I think that everyone has kind of their own way of doing this, but I think non-negotiables is a really important part. So what I mean by that is something that you are just not willing to give up. There are certain things, like we did in the beginning of pausing and switching and cutting down, we do have to do that. This does require discipline. I'm not saying that you can just do whatever you want and magically you're gonna save money and pay off your debt real fast, because that's not realistic. But what is realistic is, just having a couple things that you do keep with you, because that's gonna make the journey a lot more fun and you're not gonna resent it. When we make ourselves suffer and we refuse to do anything fun, that can make us resent this journey, and maybe that makes us give up altogether. I'll share with you my non-negotiables that I had and I still probably will always have no matter what my financial situation, because these are things that Zach and I talked about that I think are really helpful. So the first non-negotiable that Zach and I both agreed on was our gym. We go to a very nice gym and we both decided that that was not something that we wanted to give up, because we do go there almost every day. So we definitely get our money's worth. It definitely makes us extremely happy. It's good for our bodies. It's healthy. We just didn't really see a reason to cancel something like that. A second non-negotiable I had was getting my hair done. I said I can give up my nails. I told Zach once we're debt free, I want to get my nails done, which is why I have them done now. But during the beginning of that journey, I just said, I can give up getting my nails done. That was not something I was crazy about. I loved it, but I gave it up. It was okay with me. But I did not want to give up getting my hair done because I am not naturally blonde and I wanted to be. So I told him that's not something that I'm willing to give up, and we agreed on it. And even those two things might seem really silly. And again, I always say Dave Ramsey would probably tell me that I'm being totally ridiculous. But for me, those were two things that I really, really loved doing. And that for me, if I would have had to get rid of those, I would have resented this whole journey. I would have hated it. I probably wouldn't have been as happy as a person, especially not having the gym in my life. I probably wouldn't have done as good of work. I wouldn't have been as productive, and I wouldn't have made more money as a result of that, which making more money obviously helps when you're going debt free. Once you're done with this and you fill it all out, you are going to be in a much better headspace. It's going to be really clear kind of what you need to do to really get the ball rolling. So this is just kind of an exercise to clear things up for you and to kind of refer back to, so that you know what you got to do, what's coming up, and how this is really all looking. If you do need a budget, we also have that for free. It's also in the Facebook group, and it is right in the files tab. It's, again, nothing fancy, but it's just an Excel document, and it's really a little bit confusing, but I do have a demo video to go with it. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. I would love to show you how to use it, because I used to be an Excel hater, but I absolutely love it now. So if that intimidates you, I got your back, and I can help you kind of run through it so that it makes sense and you can get the most out of it, because as you just got to track somehow, some way. It doesn't have to be Excel, but if you have an app, if you like to do paper, just some way of tracking what your spending is every single month is going to be really helpful. Thanks so much for hanging out, and if you found this helpful, make sure that you subscribe so that you see all the other videos that I'm going to be coming out with soon, and make sure that you hang out for the podcast, and let's connect on Instagram. I love it more than anything when people message me and tell me their wins when they pay off a credit card, or when they pay off their car, or when they become debt free. It is my favorite kind of message to receive. So again, I hope this was helpful. Message me if you have any questions, and let's stay in touch, and you just have a rocking rest of your day. Thanks.